my glutes. And the 4 staple exercises I would suggest to anyone if they want to grow their glutes. But before we get into this video, make sure you give this video a like and a subscribe, because I would really appreciate it. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I have not been genetically blessed in the glute department, and that's something that I have always struggled with. But over time, I have taught many people and also myself, and have a few tips and tricks on how I will be growing my glutes. So as you can see, the first exercise that I would predominantly start a glute day with is a abduction. So what is this? It's a machine that you'll be focusing on, let's break it down, the side glute. For myself, I know that I'm lacking in the side glute department, so this is something that I will be really focusing my time and energy on. Abduction is a great pre-exhaust movement. Pre-exhaust meaning that you are exhausting the muscle before you go into a compound. We'll get into that shortly. So what we're going to be doing is be really focusing on taking the time under tension. So 1, 2, 3 out, 1, 2, 3 in. So this is really important for me to activate that mind to muscle connection that I do lack with that side glute. Now, once we've done that, we move on to a kickback variation. You can do kickbacks in many ways, but the way in which I perform my kickbacks is through a glute med variation. So it is a very small movement, and my glute max is extremely strong. So I've had to retrain my brain into the cues which work for me. So you can see here, I am clearly holding on to the cable. I have my core braced. Sometimes I might lift my chin or try to keep my spine neutral, meaning that I don't want any rocking within the movement. I really am focusing on a shorter movement than I'm used to, but I'm almost trying to push it to the side. So what I'm thinking about here, the cues in my head, is I'm pushing my leg all the way to the side, and then I'm pushing my foot all the way back. You don't want too much pressure in your foot. You really want to be focusing your brain, your mind to muscle connection onto your glute. You don't really want to be thinking about the glutes too much. A bit like with the abduction, you want to be thinking about driving with your thighs. Here you just want to be thinking about the movement. Now you can clearly see I'm on a slight diagonal, but in my head I'm trying to go on a horizontal movement pattern. This here will activate your glute med. I do this as a pre-exhaust movement before I go on to my compound. So for me, my compound for this particular leg day, and I would advise tip number 3 or movement number 3 would be some variation of a barbell or machine loaded hip thrust. Here we are biasing the glutes in a way that's safe. I find machines quite safe, and if you have access to one in your gym, then I would use it. I would get used to it. Now, what are my cues here? My feet are shoulder width apart. I want to be thinking about tucking the tailbone. It's not a exaggerated movement. The amount of people I see with an exaggeration of this, you really want to be thinking about that short movement at the top and the bottom. So here, we really want to be thinking about squeezing our glutes as we get to the top, but making sure we're only going low enough where we feel the movement in our glutes. So we don't want to be exaggerating the movement so much that we start to feel it in our quads, our hamstrings, anywhere else. We want to keep that tension on the glutes. Everyone's range of motion is going to be different on a hip thrust, especially because some people will need to have their feet slightly wider. I'm definitely quite tall, I'm 5'7.5", but some people might need to have their feet a little bit closer to their body. It depends on what your body and your biomechanics are. Some people's hip mobility may be weaker than others, meaning that they have a smaller range of motion. But the most important part about the hip thrust is making sure that you are focusing on that all tension all the way throughout the movement, right from the bottom to the top, and you want to be squeezing at the top. Here you want to be moving and giving the most to the movement. So you really want to be trying to disengage or not focus too much on your quads and your hamstrings, but you really want to be focusing on that glute. You want to be able to focus on the glute movement to make sure that you can be maximizing the most out of your hip thrust. Here you can clearly see I used a machine, but I used a barbell on a separate day. It's a similar movement pattern, but I actually find a barbell more challenging because you have to have a good amount of hip stability. So Movement 1 would have been an abduction. Movement 2 would have been a variation of a kickback. Movement 3 is going to be a variation of a hip thrust. And movement 4 is some variation of a squat pattern. Now I'm going to put my hands up and say it's taken me a while to glute bias this. I'm very lucky to have this squat belt machine in my gym, which allows me to first of all be able to get a good range of depth. I'm not built for barbell squats, facts. And number 2, I'm really focusing on keeping my chest as locked in as possible. I do need to lean slightly forward just for stability, but all I'm thinking about is my glutes and the tempo and the tension behind it. So thinking 3, 2, 1, pause at the bottom and all the way up. As you're going up, you're going to be squeezing your glutes. You can hear what I'm saying as a collective. It's all about time under tension, making sure that you have the most amount of muscle accumulation on the target muscle of the glute that you're trying to target. So the 4 key movements which I would recommend for anyone who's trying to grow their glutes, start with an abduction, then a variation of a kickback, then I would use a variation of a hip thrust, and then I would move into a squat pattern. Some people are built for barbell squats, and that's amazing. If they can access their glutes and activate their glutes in that movement, I would absolutely recommend that. But for a lot of people, they are not built for barbell hip thrusts and squat. So it's all about finding movements which work for you. And this is exactly why I used to have absolutely no glutes. But learning how to activate them, what movements work best for me, alongside making sure I'm eating in a calorie surplus, progressive overload, all the other factors, but training is the bread and butter. And I've had a massive focus, more than I've ever done in the last 15 years of being in the gym in training, and that's why I'm passionately bringing you this video. So if you would like more training content or would like to see something else, drop it in the comments down below. And actually, I would like to hear your favorite glute movement in the comments. Leave me a comment down below. Apart from that, I hope to see you next time.